There's my culprit bolt right there. Pretty cheap thing, cause a lot of damage, don't it? What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Happy 4th of July to everybody. And before we get started, y'all hit that subscribe button if you're not already, and drop a comment down below saying I subscribed, and I promise you I will answer every single comment that I get. So behind me is my 1994 Dodge Ram known as Gigi. My wife gave the name to it. And it is a 4-wheel drive 5-speed with Cummins 12 valves. So this video has taken place over the course of about the last 6 months. We've just had a ton going on between working on stuff outside the house, working on stuff inside the house, most importantly spending time with family, and me and my wife also had our second child. So this has really taken a back seat. We've been waiting on parts and stuff, so it really hasn't been that big of a priority. So let's jump into this, and y'all check it out. Here behind me, got my 1994 Dodge Ram with the Cummins 12 valve engine in it, and it's currently blown up, so let's get to fixing it. All right, so a little bit of a backstory on what happened to the engine. Several months ago, back in March of 21, which was, a little over 9 months ago, I was still currently building my house right now. I had a rough-in inspection the next morning, so I was running around here trying to get a lot of stuff wrapped up, and then hit the road at 11 o'clock, heading back home, going down the interstate at like 75 miles an hour. Had a hard engine shut off. I heard engine noise, like engine clanging. Pulled it off the side of the interstate, got out, immediately looked under the truck. I thought I'd thrown a rod or something. And then no holes in the block, no oil leaking or anything. Hopped back in the truck, tried to spin it over. It spun over fine. Engine sounded a little weird and didn't sound, 100%. Had the truck towed, got it home. I popped the hood, turned the engine over, the fan was spinning, and so I knew I did not have a broken crank or anything. I pulled my number 1 valve cover and then spun the engine over. Could see the fan spinning, valves weren't moving, so I knew immediately I either had a broken cam or a broken cam gear. So pulled everything off, pulled the timing cover off, and sure enough, I had me a nice little broken camshaft right after the first bearing journal. And let me grab the cam gear. And I got to looking at some of the forums and reading online, and one of the biggest questions was going to be, did I have my killer dowel pin fixed? And yes, I did. Back when I bought the truck back in 2015, that was like the first thing that I did, was do the killer dowel pin, and it was fine. I'd also read where people had broken a camshaft or a cam gear because their cam retainer bolts had backed out. Checked those. They were fine. Of course, they were both there. I had also read where there were some people that had found some bad casting straight from Cummins, and they had broken, but that was well under 140 or well under 40,000 miles. And my truck is just over 175,000. I had heard where a cam gear keyway had fallen out and gotten in there, or a crank keyway, and it was all there, even though now I'm seeing my crank gear keyway is sheared. So for a while, I just kind of deemed it as I got unlucky, a bad cam casting. And then here a couple weeks ago, got the shop cleaned up and enough to pull the truck in to start working on it. And I got to looking at it a little closer, and sure enough, I'm missing this timing housing bolt. And when I got to looking at it, I saw this chewed up area, and I'd found some metal flakes in these low spots on my timing housing. And you can actually still see, you might be able to see it. Yeah, there's still some flakes floating around in here. And I got to looking around, and I did see that bolt missing. And before, when I first pulled my timing cover, I still had my intercooler, and I think I had pulled my radiator. So I was looking at an angle like this, and I did not see it. So now that I have clarity, that I know exactly what happened, I'm missing a factory bolt that I had never touched with the wrench before. When I did a killer dowel pin, that's the only thing I had touched right there. And then obviously my timing cover bolts, but I never messed with the timing housing bolts inside of there. So now that I know that I have a bolt and plenty of shavings down in my oil pan, I probably have some bent valves just by spinning the engine over. It's very inconsistent on the compression. So let's get into it. Got it. All right, guys, let's see if our push rods are straight. That one might pass, might be acceptable. Psych. Got us some crusty pistons, and you can see definitely some piston to valve contact on every single exhaust valve. There's our valves. You can definitely see where they hit the pistons, but offhand, there's a little bit of crusty white. I know this thing was getting some really bad intermittent blow by the last year of its life. Don't know what the cause was of it, but definitely probably contributing to how crusty it is in here. There's my culprit bolt right there. Pretty cheap thing, cause a lot of damage, don't it? Hey, Brittany. All right, so we finally got this thing all tore apart. We got oily mess down here and, you know, our fuel stuff that we probably won't reuse. But diving into here, the cylinders actually did not look as bad as I thought they were going to. You can still kind of see the cross hatching in most of them. There's no scuffs in the bores, but it is definitely very, very crusty. We got some crust all over the block. It's been pretty leaky. Like I said in the beginning of the video, we do have a sheared keyway on the crank, and I definitely need to replace that wear sleeve right there. I can feel that pretty bad with my fingernail, which kind of hints all of the crust on the front of the timing cover as well. So we definitely need a bunch of gaskets here. I didn't pull the crank just because I don't want it sitting around on the floor. I'm going to put it back in there anyways. But looking at the bearings on the crank, we did have a little bit of scuffing around it, and a couple of them here and there had a little tiny mark, like a groove cut into it from a piece of trash or something going through the oil system. But other than that, to me, block looks pretty good. But I definitely am going to measure the pistons that I'm going to use, and I want to open up the piston to wall a little bit. Probably, I don't know, I need to ask around, but I'm thinking around that 7,000 to 8,000 piston to wall clearance. So moving over here to the head, definitely old, but we do have a ton of carbon buildup on it. And I did have some blow by on the engine, and it was kind of weird because it was kind of off and on. I would get tailpipe smoke sometimes, and then some days it wouldn't be there. I could pop my oil fill cap and I would have some pulsating white smoke coming out of that sometimes. Sometimes it wasn't. So I don't know if it was my turbo seals. Y'all drop a comment down below and let me know what y'all think and what y'all think the problem might be. But I would love to try to figure that out. So you see I got some bolts over here. I need a bag and label as well. Moving on over here. Here's our culprit camshaft that caused the whole entire issue. Cracked there, cracked right after the first bearing journal. Bad day. So thank you for that. And like I showed earlier, there's the bolt that did it all. So oh well. So I'm glad I tore the engine all the way apart. When I started pulling the lifters, I had 2 or 3 of them that were cracked like that right at the top where the push rod went into. So that would have just chewed up my lifter bore over time, which would have sucked. So we're putting a new cam in it, so we're going to put new lifters in it anyways. So not a big deal. Moving on to our pistons. The bearings definitely had some wear in it. This engine had a little bit over 175,000 miles. My odometer wouldn't work sometimes, so who knows how many miles is on it. And so this is kind of similar to what the crank bearings look like. Not wearing all the way through to the copper, but definitely has a little bit of pitting, and some of them have some scars all the way around it, which Definitely tells me I had some trash in the oil, and that probably could have been me neglecting the oil changes. Probably could have done better at that, but this thing's going to get some new bearings in it as well. Oil pump, probably will get a new one of those just because for good measure. Definitely don't want to be losing oil pressure, so we are going to find a OEM Cummins replacement oil pump and put that in there. I got my oil pan bolts, timing cover bolts, pickup tube, injection pump. It's kind of weird. I don't know if this is factory or not, but that has a helicoil in it. So I don't know if anybody's tore into this thing before or not. So we need to get to the horsepower level we want to. We are going to do some fueling upgrades on this. It might not be immediately, depending on our budget. So over time, we'll get some fuel upgrades on that. And then we got our pile of clutch and adapter plate, tappet cover, and timing cover. And then we got our box parts here. So yeah, that's it. And we also have our plethora of bent push rods like we knew was going to be an issue. So we definitely are going to have some new push rods on the order list. And also, another thing, just looking back at the head, you can see where the combustion bowl actually, made some marks on some of the valves. It's mainly pronounced on the exhaust valve, but looking at the head with my naked eye, it doesn't look like any of the valves are bent. But whatever head we use, I got a couple of them. I got a marine head with some 60-pound valve springs on it already. But whichever head we use, we are going to take it to the machine shop and get it resurfaced. And we will lap the valves as well to make sure that we do have a good seal on it as well. This, my friends, is Wiggy. Nice to meet you, buddy. All right, guys, I appreciate y'all watching us tear down this engine. And y'all drop a comment down below and let me know what y'all think. This coming week, I need to give the machine shop a call and just kind of get a feel for what their prices are on doing a hone, a line hone, and decking the head and the block. That's probably what we're going to get done. But we do also need to order a few more engine parts and gaskets and stuff. So it might be a little while until we do an engine build video, but y'all definitely be looking out for that to come here. I'm not going to say soon, but here in the next couple months, hopefully. But again, I appreciate y'all watching. If you're not subscribed already, hit that subscribe button, drop a comment down below, and we will catch you on the next one.